First, we will be going over the layout of the Mechatronics trainer. The trainer is made of 3 separate sections. The first section is TMS1, and it is the pick and place arm, which is responsible for holding the pucks in a barrel before sorting and placing the pucks onto the turntable. The next section of the trainer is TMS2, the turntable and reject. It is responsible for checking a puck's height, rejecting the puck if it is too tall, or accepting it if it is not. This section also contains a status light, which will indicate if the system is enabled, one of the trays are full, or if the system is faulted. The final section of the trainer is TMS3, the sorting conveyor. The sorting conveyor sorts the pucks into trays by materials. From left to right, it is metal, black, and white. It uses diverter arms to push the pucks into those trays. Now here is what a normal operation of the Mechatronics trainer would look like from start to finish. Now let's go over some abnormal starting conditions. These conditions can include a puck being on the conveyor when the system is enabled, the turntable not being in the proper starting position, or a puck being on the turntable at system enabled. Now let's move on to reviewing the HMI associated with the Mechatronics trainer. Here is the initial login window it will display after getting logged into this particular client. Here you can see the shutdown button. This is the main method used to close this current client. After logging in, you can see that the HMI can be moved around at any time. This is because this particular HMI is being viewed from the site edition of Factory View Studio. You may also notice that any major windows can be reached from this initial page. Let's move on to the Overview window to start. As you can see, when I press the Start button, the indicator lights will change from red to green to show when one of the stations is enabled. On the bottom of the screen, there are status lights for the system itself, as well as the communications. And alongside those status lights, you will also see that there are sorting counters as well. To the right of the station status lights, you can see that there is an indicator to show if the puck is being accepted or rejected, as well as what step it is on. Another indicator will appear if either the reject bin is full or if one of the sorting trays is full. To clear this status light, the tray must be emptied and the system must be manually reset. From here, we will move on to the trending window. Just like in the overview window, we have the status lights to indicate the state of the system, as well as having status lights to indicate if the communications are still online. After letting the trending window populate, you can see that the graph updates in real time along with the counters on the left side. As you can see on the trend, each puck has its own respective pen to show its own part of the graph. There are also buttons that will take you to each major window, just as there were in Overview and in the initial window. Now let's move on to the faults window. Here we have the same navigation buttons as the previous major windows, as well as the status indicator lights for system and the communications. But there are also counters for each major fault that can be reliably recorded and tracked. After purposely removing communications from TMS3 in a controlled environment, you can see that the communication status light began to flash red, indicating a fault, which also appears on both the system status light and in the fault list. Attempting to reset the system while the fault is active will cause the fault to appear again in the list. Active fault conditions have a red bell icon next to them in the fault list. Clearing a fault must be done manually. After acknowledging the alarms, the active fault window empties as there are no longer any active faults. This concludes the HMI overview portion of the video.